What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we are for Unscripted episode number 110 for your March 8th, 2019. This is also my birthday, but let's not get into that. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about something that has been plaguing WWE for a very long time. The over-reliance on the nostalgia acts. Shitberg, Austin, Rock, NWO, so on and so forth. WWE has the most talent they have had in this company ever. The likes of Ricochet, Andrade, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Rey Mysterio still running, Aleister Black, so on and so forth. Ali, fucking Chad Gable was one of the most over guys in this company at a time last year during the King of the Ring, and right after that, until they straddled him with this stupid fucking gimmick that they have right now. Why does WWE continue to rely on the likes of Shitberg and Brock Lesnar and everyone else from the years past? It's simple. Vince McMahon refuses to build new stars. Not tomorrow, but the week after, on March 16th, 2020, Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to make an appearance on Monday Night Raw for what they're dubbing 316 Day. Why would WWE, of all this time, want to bring Stone Cold back for a holiday that they made up themselves? Simple. Raw ratings are in the fucking toilet, and they want to do something to make it seem like they're getting a ratings grab and bring him back. Why has Shitberg shown up twice to WWE SmackDown? Hulk Hogan been on SmackDown. Why was the NWO and the Bella Twins on the last 2 weeks on a moment of bliss for WWE? Simple. Pure ratings grab. WWE has had this philosophy since John Cena became the biggest star in the company since Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Triple H. Ever since he went off to Hollywood, WWE and Vince McMahon have had this directive to not make another star that is as big as John Cena. Even though Vince McMahon loves himself some Roman Reigns and wants to make Roman Reigns the guy, he doesn't want Roman to get up to where he's at a John Cena level. The simple reason is this, is Vince McMahon sees what happened with The Rock. The Rock became one of the biggest stars in the company. What did The Rock do? He went off to do The Scorpion King. And then the next movie came in, and then the next movie came in, and then the next movie came in to where The Rock just was bigger than WWE and he needed to move on. John Cena. Yes, John Cena is going to wrestle this coming April at WrestleMania. He's been in more matches. He's been a longer tenured superstar than The Rock ever was. But John Cena is not a full-time guy. Hell, John Cena is not even a part-time guy. He's a special attraction guy who comes back once in a blue moon when he feels like it. WWE does not control when John Cena comes back. They can't control when John Cena comes back. If John Cena was in the middle of shooting a movie around WrestleMania this year, he would not be wrestling at WrestleMania, because what happened with The Rock back at WrestleMania 29, Rock got injured and it delayed a shoot that he was doing. And no, that soured Hollywood on these big huge stars like John Cena and The Rock going back to wrestle at WrestleMania or any other appearance, because yes, when you're out of the ring for 6, 9, 10 months, even maybe a year or two, your body's not used to taking those hits, those bumps, and you're more susceptible to injury being out of the ring for as long as they have than somebody who's on the road 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, going out there and putting their body through all of this. So John Cena is coming back, and he's going to wrestle this match against The Fiend. The Fiend is a victim of WWE and Vince McMahon's narrative that no star, no superstar, no wrestler, no WWE product is to be as big or as bigger than John Cena. Because they don't want these guys, men and women, to leave WWE behind in the lurch and go to Hollywood. That's the truth. That will never come out. WWE will never admit this. Vince McMahon will never admit this. But if you had a guy like Ricochet, who is good looking, he's small, he's like ripped, he's like I said, good looking. He's somebody who probably go out there and get a couple roles if they wanted to. If he became a big star, WWE would not want to see Ricochet go off and become a big Hollywood star. This is why WWE was hoping that Batista, who was one of their big stars in 2005 to 2010, would they were hoping Guardians of the Galaxy would fail. They were just sitting there in their boardroom every time they saw something from Guardians of the Galaxy. When he came back in 2010 or 2014, did the whole thing with the Shield, put the Shield over, helped the Shield become three of the biggest stars in WWE in 2014 to 2019. They were hoping when he left and came back, or when he left again, the movie would fail, so he would have to crawl back to WWE because his movie career failed because they had nothing to do with it. That's why it took forever for Batista to get his one-on-one match. It took him 5 more years to get that one-on-one match with Triple H at WrestleMania. This WWE has this big problem that what is WWE going to do in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years when the likes of a Ricochet, an Aleister Black, a Seth Rollins, a Fiend Bray Wyatt, an Andrade, a whoever's left, who is here now, who is in their 20s or 30s, or 30s or late 20s, early 30s or early 40s, are going out there killing themselves now. What are they going to do when a Hulk Hogan is no longer around, The Undertaker is no longer around, Shitberg is no longer around, Stone Cold The Rock are done and gone and aren't coming back? What are they going to do when they need to rely on a Roman Reigns and people don't respect Roman enough to have him be somebody that's like, oh my god, Roman's back, or Seth Rollins, or anybody else who is somebody now who, if they made them big stars and make them matter, if they were to go away and say 5 years later, you bring them back for nostalgia pop, they're not going to have that. Guys like Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, they were proponents and products of the Attitude Era, where every single person got a time to shine, and mostly nobody, was buried to the point to where they could debut. Like, you could have somebody debut the night after WrestleMania, and by the time we get to SummerSlam, we as fans don't care about him anymore. Why? Because Vince McMahon gives them 3 weeks, goes out there, makes them have all of their weaknesses exposed to the point where, they're not getting over, so I'm done with them. No, not everybody you see come out is going to be in the headlines, in the top spot, but you should have people set up. Because what if Drew McIntyre beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, goes out there, has a fantastic run as champion, but gets injured? He gets injured, has to relinquish the title because of injury. There is nobody else on that Monday Night Raw locker room, in that roster, outside of maybe, just maybe, Kevin Owens. There is nobody else on this roster that anybody's going to fucking care about. Not Seth Rollins, not Aleister Black, not Ricochet, not even AJ Styles right now, because they've taken AJ Styles down so far that he is doing shit that is beneath his abilities. It's just ridiculous. Where is Cedric Alexander? Where has this guy been? For a shred of last year, Cedric Alexander looked like a guy who could be a main player in this company, a mid-card player who could take that United States Championship and rocket it to prominence where it hasn't been seen literally since it's been a WWE Championship. But what do? You give them 3 weeks and they're dead. Now it's coming out that WWE and Vince McMahon, after what happened on Monday, is already souring on Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, who for 2.5 years in NXT looked like the biggest, baddest woman in NXT since Asuka. Since Asuka was down there. She went down there, she brutalized each and every woman she got into the ring with, had them at her mercy, beat the living breaks off of everybody. Nobody could touch what Shayna Baszler was doing. I even said she was better than what Ronda Rousey was doing on Monday Night Raw. have her come up, do a vampiric biting angle with Becky Lynch, talk all this trash, put her in an Elimination Chamber, which again, she should have won the Rumble, so the Elimination Chamber could have went to the Women's Division on SmackDown, giving the SmackDown Women's Division something to do on the road to WrestleMania. And then what does they do? They put her in a match with Kairi Sane. Now, yes, Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler had some pretty good matches in NXT. Kairi Sane in NXT was a babyface. A cute, cut, clean babyface. Kairi Sane, 2020 on Monday Night Raw, is a dastardly, despicable heel who laughs at anybody who Asuka missed in the face. So, if you've seen Shayna Baszler versus another heel, it doesn't work. So having her go out there and trying to work a match against somebody else who is supposed to be a heel, it doesn't work. You could have had Shayna Baszler go out there against a Liv Morgan. A Liv Morgan who's supposed to be this babyface. Yes, they did Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott with Sarah Logan as a special guest referee. That match was trash. No one gave a fuck about it. But you could have had Shayna Baszler go out there, do exactly to Liv Morgan what she did to Dakota Kai in her first match on NXT. Just go in there, stomp her elbow, like put her elbow in the position, stomp on it, and just laugh as Liv Morgan winces in pain. They could have did that. And you know what? That would have been the right way to book Shayna Baszler. But yet, putting her in a heel versus heel match in front of a crowd who, like, you can't do heel versus heel unless these two have been built up enough. Shayna Baszler that we saw in NXT should be in WrestleMania event match against Becky Lynch. The Shayna Baszler we saw this past Monday should be nowhere close to a WrestleMania match. But here's the problem. WWE has booked themselves into a massive corner. You made an Elimination Chamber match for the women's division. For Raw. Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Natalya, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, and Ruby Riott. We've already seen Asuka versus Becky Lynch twice this year. She doesn't deserve a WrestleMania match. Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, and Ruby Riott are just jobber fodder to other bigger names. Natalya is 2-3 years past her prime as a wrestler in WWE, maybe even 5 years. Natalya is past her time where she should fucking think about retiring. They have no one else. They need to have tomorrow or tonight have Shayna Baszler win the match, and then she doesn't have to wrestle another fucking match. You have her go out there and just cut promos, do whatever with Becky Lynch. Speaking of Becky Lynch, what she was wearing on Monday Night Raw made her look fucking ridiculous. She's sitting out there, she's supposed to, I guess they want her to be a Conor McGregor-like character. One problem, Becky Lynch is not Conor McGregor. Trying to have somebody parody, like it was a Conor McGregor parody. She's coming out with this big, huge, flamboyant coat, having fucking sunglasses on, and wearing King's crown on commentary. She looked ridiculous. What happened to the leather jacket wearing badass Becky Lynch, who went out there, kicked ass, kicked ass first, took names later, and didn't give a damn what WWE wanted her to do? They made her look ridiculous. The white hot babyface of WrestleMania 35 is going in to WrestleMania 36 a year later, after what was started off as a hot angle after she won the Royal Rumble when she wanted to go after Ronda Rousey and cooled off. She is now 1 year later looking like the biggest fucking dork out there. And again, that just shows WWE's major problem. Becky Lynch, one of the hottest acts they had in the company for about 7 or 8, 9, 10 months. Went to WrestleMania. She won. She was so hot, and the crowd was so behind Becky that they changed plans months in advance because, of course, WrestleMania 35 was supposed to be Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Becky was supposed to be nowhere near this. And by the way, and we should be thanking Nia Jax for that, because if Nia Jax doesn't take her fist straight to Becky's face and crack her face open, and Becky Lynch goes to face Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series, you know what would have happened? Ronda Rousey puts Becky Lynch into the armbar, her weak-ass, shitty-ass armbar, which doesn't even look like she's trying to put on a legit armbar. She puts her in the armbar, and Becky Lynch taps out. And you know what happens with Becky Lynch after that? All the people chanting Becky just go quiet, and her momentum dies. And Becky Lynch doesn't win the Royal Rumble, doesn't go to WrestleMania to wrestle for both women's championships, doesn't become Becky Two Belts, and doesn't hold the Raw Women's Championship for nearly a year. People don't realize that WWE had so many different plans going into from Survivor Series on that they changed because of how hot and how over Becky Lynch got. But what did WWE do? Just like they do with everybody else. They take Becky Lynch, who was one of the hottest characters for over a year, and they cooled her off. Having her come out last December and just questioning her ability to get the job done because she hadn't beat Asuka in a year. She lost to her at the Royal Rumble. She lost to her a time or two again. And just having her go out there, second guessing herself, really cooled off Becky Lynch. Yes, there's still fans out there who cheer her. I'm not saying she's a dead act yet. But each and every week that passes by, Becky Lynch needs to drop that women's championship to Shayna Baszler in honestly a one-sided affair. You really want to get Shayna Baszler over. She wins tonight, goes to WrestleMania, beats the brakes off of Becky Lynch so badly that Becky Lynch goes, quote unquote, home for 2 or 3 months. The next time you see Becky Lynch is on the build to SummerSlam. Shayna Baszler is still your women's champion, running roughshod over everybody on Monday Night Raw. The rematch happens at SummerSlam. A refreshed, a renewed Becky Lynch, who wants revenge on the biggest and most embarrassing loss of her career. And at SummerSlam, Becky, Shayna 2, with Becky getting not winning the match by all means at all, no. But getting a lot more offense in and eventually not tapping out this time, but passing out to Shayna Baszler. And then Shayna Baszler can move on to after Shayna Baszler beats here's the problem. After Shayna Baszler beats Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, and Becky goes away and Seth Rollins goes away. We'll talk about Seth Rollins here in a minute. You would have to have Asuka versus Shayna Baszler for May and June and July. That's the only feud. Like, if Kairi Sane's still around, you can go Asuka and Kairi Sane back to back if you wanted to. But then you would have to turn them both babyface. And I don't know if WWE wants to do that because Shayna Baszler is never going to be a babyface. Never. Speaking of Seth Rollins, look at this guy. 2018 was Seth Rollins' year. 2018, the year he won the Intercontinental title in that fantastic opening triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 34. That was the summer of Rollins, Monday Night Rollins. He coined it Monday Night Rollins. Having matches with The Miz, like that Backlash pay-per-view with The Miz and him opening it, the only redeemable match from that entire pay-per-view. If it wasn't for that one match, Backlash 2018 would be the worst non-Saudi Arabian show of WWE's history. But that one match kept it from falling down that far. And then just match after match after match, just throwing out there. Dolph Ziggler and him, they think they overdid that one going into SummerSlam. Him winning the Intercontinental title back from Dolph Ziggler with the help of Dean Ambrose. And then they brought the Shield back. And Seth Rollins went from being the man, like pretty much being the man while Brock Lesnar was away between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, to just one of Roman Reigns' lackeys. And he went from being the hottest act in the company, who should have been the one to beat Brock Lesnar in 2018, to slowly, it wasn't a fast decline, it was slow decline. And then there was the Dean Ambrose heel turn, which popped it up again, and then it was just a slow decline because of how piss poor that feud was. But then they got it right back on track for the 2019 Royal Rumble, with Seth Rollins won. Now, granted, Seth Rollins was probably, I think Seth Rollins wasn't always meant to win that Rumble. Here's what was originally supposed to happen. If the leukemia doesn't come up in Roman Reigns' life, if it doesn't come back, if it doesn't re-emerge itself, then WWE was going to have The Rock trying whatever way they could to get The Rock to come back, win the 2019 Royal Rumble, so we would have The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 35, and have The Rock put Roman Reigns over in another coronation at WrestleMania. That would have been 5. 5 is happening this year. But that didn't happen. Seth Rollins won. And then from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, they got Seth Rollins to be that popular guy. So when we got to WrestleMania and they opened the show with Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar lost the title in mere minutes to Seth Rollins in what was really a one-sided affair, after the bell rang, of course, in Seth Rollins' favor due to the low blow. Fans were going crazy. Fans were going wild. After that, the decline wasn't there yet, because it went from WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar to Money in the Bank with AJ Styles. And I think out of his entire title reign, his first one of the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles, probably was the best match, because after that, what did they do? It was Baron Corbin, and then Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. And then what did WWE do from there? They took the Universal title off of Seth Rollins because they needed a title match with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Instead of giving Bobby Lashley his wish and giving him Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in a non-title match because he wouldn't have a championship, they had to put the title back on Brock Lesnar for a month. So just from that, don't be too surprised if things, which we'll talk about that in a minute, what my feelings going into WrestleMania right now, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But as the year was going on, Seth Rollins' fall from grace is not all WWE's fault. Yes, the booking of him versus Baron Corbin and him versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans with his girlfriend, Becky Lynch, fiance, whatever, was bad. But it was two things. During this time, Seth Rollins decided to open his mouth on Twitter. And Seth Rollins would say, WWE is the best wrestling out there. No, there's not a person alive that can top that. Well, Ospreay spoke up and said, I'm alive. So Seth Rollins comes at it. Seth Rollins and him have a little Twitter beef back and forth, which is fine. Until Seth Rollins opens his mouth and says, well, my bank account is bigger than yours. That's when you take a big fat L. Sorry. And it's just Seth Rollins would go on to podcasts or interviews and bash the WWE fans and fans all around the world. And this guy was supposed to be the babyface. Then we fast forward to his feud with The Fiend. WWE booked their Universal Champion to sit in the corner while The Fiend stood there in front of him, crying his eyes out as a guy in a Halloween mask sat up beside it, stood was in front of him. He was so scared that Seth Rollins, the Universal Champion, was crying. And then we get to Hell in a Cell. and we get that bullshit ending. Not one, but 2 years in a row, WWE had the audacity for the men's Hell in a Cell match, or the Raw Hell in a Cell match, to end in a no contest. That just like, and then you would have Seth Rollins on Twitter trying to justify this. Somebody tweeted about the fact that Undertaker and Mick Foley would they were disgracing the Hell in a Cell when guys like Undertaker and Mick Foley gets thrown off the side of the cell and continues the match. And Seth Rollins had the audacity to say, I bet you the Undertaker and Mick Foley would have been happy to have the match stopped. Are you fucking stupid? It's just things like that got people to turn on Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was probably never supposed to turn heel when he did, because WWE wanted him to be this big star of a babyface, and Seth Rollins has proven time and time again within a 6-month period that he will never, ever be the guy that they wanted him to be. And Seth Rollins went from being a beloved, big-time, like a beloved star to any and all WWE fans, to one of the most hated guys in the company. They did the right thing eventually and turned him heel. I think they just waited a little too long for that. So now Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens is where we're heading to WrestleMania. Now, WWE's philosophy of having these guys, Seth Rollins was over. He was definitely over. And now he's not. And he's getting hate, he's getting as much hate as he can, and he's playing the heel role as best as he can. But WWE, like Ricochet, I remember seeing my first exposure to Ricochet, I'm sure was a lot of people's exposure to Ricochet, was the Best of the Super Juniors, and I believe, 2017? Those video clips of him and Will Ospreay that went viral. People called that not a match, it was just a bunch of flippy shit. And that pissed off guys like Leon White, which is also known as Vader, Randy Orton, others like that. And that was the first exposure to me of Ricochet. Then he started working for What Culture Pro Wrestling in WCPW. He was there for a bit, was fantastic. The World Cup matches between him and Rey Mysterio, I'm sorry, not him and Rey Mysterio, him and Will Ospreay, of course. Will Ospreay and Bea Priestley versus him and Tessa Blanchard. You had Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio at one of the pay-per-views during the World Cup season. Then you had him eventually getting... I didn't see any of his stuff in Lucha Underground, so I can't tell you about that. Him getting signed by WWE and going to NXT. And his debut match was a 6-man ladder match between him, Lars Sullivan, EC3, Adam Cole, the Velveteen Dream, and Killian Dane. Yeah, those 6 guys right there. And he just put on a spectacular performance and showed you that this guy, if booked right for the rest of his career, could be the future of this company. He wins the North American Championship not too long after that at TakeOver Brooklyn, in another fantastic match between him and Adam Cole. Defends it, keeps going, and then loses it to Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Phoenix last year. And then, out of the blue, Aleister Black, Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa all got called up to the main roster. Why? Because WrestleMania season last year, the ratings were going in the toilet. And Vince McMahon's quick fix was not Legends last year, that's this year's plan. Last year was bring up superstars from NXT, not once, but twice. At the end of last year, at the end of 2018, when Vince McMahon and them did the "We are the authority, you are the authority, we're going to listen to you, we're going to bring new superstars up." What did they do? They gave us Heavy Machinery, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, EC3, and Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan was a draw, was DOA immediately. His anxiety and other things played a factor in him, and he's injured It's supposed to be coming back soon, but there was like zero talk of even using him. Like, there's no talk of him, of like what to do with him. Lacey Evans is what for a while was doing a catwalk thing back and forth from January until right after WrestleMania. Got in a feud with Becky Lynch. Way too early, mind you. Heavy Machinery, they are over. Like, Otis is over with the crowd, and it won't take long for WWE to kill that. EC3 had one bad match with Dean Ambrose and was dead. Nikki Cross is legit friends with Alexa Bliss, so her career probably has a better chance than most of the people who were brought up. When that didn't seem to go very well, Vince McMahon says we need the 4 biggest guys at the time outside of the Undisputed Era. Those being Ricochet, Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. Well, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano were bitter rivals down in NXT. What did Vince McMahon decide to do? Let's team them back up and make DIY. Reunion. These guys were they were doing something that was going to lead to a DIY mini reunion, which was going to lead to the match at TakeOver New York last year. Unfortunately, injury problems to Tommaso Ciampa ended up sending him to the hospital, and him having to relinquish the NXT Championship, something he has yet to get back. Tommaso Ciampa disappeared. Johnny Gargano went back to NXT, and that's where he's been still. Aleister Black and Ricochet stayed on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, wrestling on both shows as a tag team, for the simple fact is they had no choice but to put them as a tag team because it was originally supposed to be DIY in that position. So within the matter of a week, the go-home shows for Raw and NXT, and like Raw, for the go-home show of Raw and the TakeOver New York and WrestleMania last year, Aleister Black and Ricochet challenged for all 3 titles on all 3 brands, failing to win all 3. They were highly protected between the time they made their main roster debuts and WrestleMania. They weren't pinned, I don't think, at all the entire time from the start of the year to WrestleMania. I don't think either one of them were pinned at all. So after WrestleMania, they split them up. Aleister Black originally went to SmackDown, and Ricochet went to Raw. Eventually, Andrade, Charlotte Flair, Zelina Vega, and Aleister Black all moved to Monday Night Raw because they didn't want to split couples up, and they put Charlotte on Raw, and they had to do all that shit. But they didn't put them back as a tag team. They kept them apart, and Aleister Black just started speaking in tongue. He started speaking in tongue and talking about his, people wanting to pick a fight with him. But Ricochet got a little bit of a mini push. He got a mini push. He won the United States Championship. That's all good. Then he lost the leg right away. I think he won it twice, by the way. But after his time as a United States champion, losing it, he went back and forth, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. And then, because WWE and Brock Lesnar has to have a match in Saudi Arabia, it was a contractually obligated title defense in Saudi Arabia. WWE needed a body. And instead of sacrificing Bobby Lashley or sacrificing Seth Rollins, they gave the title shot to Ricochet. Now, on paper, Ricochet versus Brock Lesnar could mean something great. Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, fantastic match. Match of the year that year. Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles. That was one of the matches of the decade. That was a fantastic match 3 years ago. Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor wasn't as great as those two, but was still a sustainable match. What did they do with Ricochet? They gave him the Kofi Kingston treatment. 0 offense. He lasted longer than Kofi Kingston, but 3 suplexes, 1 F5, and that was that. Then we go back to this episode of Monday Night Raw this past week. After facing Brock Lesnar in a squash-like variant, what do? Riddick Moss the current 24/7 and the longest reigning 24/7 champion, by the way, which is only 20 some days, beats Ricochet in a squash match. If anybody thinks that Ricochet has a chance to being over in WWE, he is dead. And it's sad because Paul Heyman, the executive director of Monday Night Raw, wants Ricochet to be one of those guys that he pushes. What happens? They squash him at Super Showdown. They squash him Monday on Raw. Ricochet is dead as a doornail. If Ricochet's contract was up in the next year or so, I'd let that sumbitch go up, and I would go literally anywhere else. I don't care if it's Impact Wrestling, New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW, MLW, NWA. I don't fucking care. Ricochet would be better off literally anywhere else than he is on Monday Night Raw. He's a dead act, and it's a shame to say because I love to see myself some Ricochet when he wrestles and is actually used right. Unfortunately, in WWE, in Monday Night Raw, every single match that we see of Ricochet over the last 6 months has been the exact same. No variation, not letting this guy go out there and show you what he can actually do. Same moves, same thing, every single match. The only thing that could change every once in a while is that he wins with the ripcord instead of the 630. Other than that, from start to about the finish, everything in the match is the same. And that's WWE's problem. Then let's look at Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman. This guy made his debut with the Wyatt family, had a big bushy hair, big bushy beard, and was green as grass. This guy looked like he was going to be a project for a very long time. This guy never was in NXT. He was he was a Adam Rose Rosebud, but really didn't do anything. They brought him up because he was a big dude. We fast forward to the 2016 draft. Bray Wyatt was drafted to SmackDown. Braun Strowman was drafted to Raw. Braun Strowman cuts his hair, cuts the side of his hair, and cuts it down to where it's like a flat top with the buzzers on the side and everything. And he just starts squashing men, like little men, big, left and right. That got us James Ellsworth. Let's not talk about that piece of shit. But as we're going on within the years, like the 2 years that this is going on, this guy is getting over, doing superhuman strength shit, beating the hell out of little guys left and right. I believe he lost a dumpster match to Kalisto, but let's not get into that. And he was getting over with the fans. He was one of the, in 2018, the 2 hottest acts in WWE were Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, both on Raw. What did they do? They took Braun Strowman, the hot babyface, who won Money in the Bank, and we're going to see this guy go out there and get a title match and get a title victory because he's won Money in the Bank and you don't want to fuck this up. But what do? They bring back the Shield, and the night that, because Corbin was the constable at the time running Monday Night Raw, the week after he gets put through a table, he challenges Roman Reigns to a match at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell, for his Money in the Bank briefcase. Oh, okay. Hands the briefcase to Baron Corbin, says make sure to bring that at Hell in a Cell. We get to the end of the night of this episode of Raw. They take Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns and they team them up to take on Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. What happens? Braun Strowman turns heel. Everything that they did to get Braun Strowman over was wasted. This guy goes out there and turns heel because WWE needs a heel to work against Roman Reigns. They don't want to turn Roman Reigns heel. They'll never turn Roman Reigns heel. But it's to get it, and it just killed Braun Strowman for a good while. And here's the thing: Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns are in this Hell in a Cell match, and they're having this Hell in a Cell match. Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, and the rest of the Shield come out to wreak some havoc, do big moves on top of the cage, because WWE knew they were not going to have a clear-cut finish. Brock Lesnar comes out, rips the cage door open, beats the fuck out of both of them. Match is called off. This was supposed to lead to a triple threat match at the next Saudi show, which I believe was Super Showdown at that time too. It was Crown Jewel. And WWE was going to have Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman fed to Roman Reigns, which that would have worked out so fucking well. WWE dodged a bullet, because you think Roman Reigns was getting hate before the leukemia. If that leukemia didn't happen when we had that triple threat match and Braun Strowman didn't walk out champion, Roman Reigns would have had the most nuclear heat out there. But Roman Reigns had his leukemia happen. He had to go away, and I can't say anything bad about that because that's not something to talk about. So they set up a one-on-one match. Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. How are they going to fuck this up? Oh, we're going to have Baron Corbin out there, take the championship, take the vacant championship, hit Braun Strowman from behind, allowing Brock Lesnar to hit a couple suplexes, a couple F5s, and then beat Braun Strowman. And anybody who was like super over, Braun Strowman was super over with, it died. It took them another year plus to even get any type of reaction for Braun Strowman. Yes, Braun Strowman is the Intercontinental Champion right now. And that's a smart thing. That's the first thing he should have went after when he started getting over. Big names, big guys like that, like people you want to be a future heavyweight champion, should always go for a mid-card title first. That's what it's for. To anoint who you see fit enough to go for the championship next. So Braun Strowman is the Intercontinental Champion right now. When he comes out, yes, he gets a pop, but he doesn't get the big pop. Braun Strowman in 2018, before that heel turn, was getting humongous pops. Him and Seth Rollins were fighting for the biggest pops of 2018 summer. And WWE in the same time of each other, of those two, and after SummerSlam until the end of the year, killed both Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. Why? Because nobody is allowed to be as big as John Cena. Nobody is allowed to get as over as John Cena. Even if Roman Reigns was to get cheered out of the building, cheered for days at WrestleMania 36, which is not going to happen. You could hear it when he came out to challenge Shitberg last week on SmackDown. Fans were chanting, "You both suck." And if they even think of rehashing the 2018 build to WrestleMania 34 and SummerSlam, with Roman Reigns coming out as like, this guy doesn't care about the business, I'm full-time, he's part-time, he's only here to collect a paycheck, people are going to remember that you pulled this shit the first time, and they didn't like it then. Just because Roman Reigns, just because Joe had leukemia and fought it off, doesn't mean you should give Roman Reigns a pass. People need to realize that you're not booing Joe. Joe's not going to take offense to the fact that you're booing Roman Reigns. Anybody who thinks that, oh, why are you booing Roman Reigns? He beat leukemia. No, he didn't. Roman Reigns didn't fight leukemia. If I'm correct, Roman Reigns came out in a t-shirt and jeans and tennis shoes and said, "My name is Joe, and I've been battling leukemia for 11 years." As soon as he came out in a little gold chain, a t-shirt, jeans, and tennis shoes, that was not Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes out with a tack vest on, boots, and tack pants and tactical pants on. That's Roman Reigns. If he comes out in a fucking in casual clothes, you're not seeing Roman, you're seeing Joe. So the guy, like, if you say like, "Hey Joe, you suck" or something, or "fuck you" or something like that, then you're a despicable person. There's no reason to attack the real guy behind the Roman Reigns character. If you go out there and you boo the character Roman Reigns, if you're out there chanting "Roman sucks," guess what? You're doing nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with booing Roman Reigns. There's nothing wrong with saying Roman sucks. There's nothing wrong with being against Roman Reigns. It's just it's just one of those things. And yes, even if Roman Reigns at WrestleMania beats Goldberg, beats Shitberg, and reigns as champion, if he gets that big babyface pop that Vince McMahon wants, which he's not going to get, Vince McMahon will only allow it to get as big as he wants it to. Vince McMahon is going to control how big of a pop Roman Reigns would get. I guarantee you, Vince McMahon's not in the back seething the fact that Roman Reigns is getting that shitty, like getting booed out of the building from 2018 or 2015 to 2018. Why? Because he knows that is the reaction that he knows that Roman's never going to get as over as John Cena. Vince McMahon wants nobody to get over as a John Cena. They never want to make another John Cena. Because they want full control over those at the top. They want to have full control, so when those Hollywood numbers come around, they have a better chance of keeping them from going to do those type movies. Yes, Roman did a part-time movie or a small role with his cousin The Rock. Is that going to lead to bigger picture numbers? Probably not. We'll just have to wait and see. But WWE coming into this WrestleMania season. Last year, WrestleMania season, as I said, was WWE going out there and trying to get NXT superstars out there and pushing them to make it look like they actually care and want to make new stars. This year, we're reaching into that cookie jar of old timers and see if we can get a nice, fresh, tasty cookie. And it's not happening. We've seen Shitberg twice, Hogan once, and the other members of the NWO because they're going into the Hall of Fame. It wouldn't surprise me if Batista's on the Moment of Bliss next. If JBL's on the Moment of Bliss next. Who the fuck wants to cheer for JBL? If they announce JBL for a Moment of Bliss, I hope the fuck he gets booed out of the building or fuck you JBL chance. WWE they have a problem. They have a ratings problem. If the ratings were if the ratings on Fox, because outside of 316 Day, if 316 Day was on SmackDown, if March 16th was on SmackDown, Stone Cold would be showing up on SmackDown. But it's on Monday Night Raw. That's the only reason he's coming to Monday Night Raw. WWE knows that they need to get those ratings up on SmackDown because they're dealing with Fox. They're not dealing with NBC Universal and the USA Network, who pretty much just bends over and lets Vince McMahon do whatever the fuck they want to him. WWE that's why you've seen Shitberg, that's why he's Universal Champion, why you've seen Hogan, why you've seen NWO. It wouldn't surprise me if you see D-Generation X. WWE is trying everything they can to get the ratings up. But if you would book your younger stars, like a Cedric Alexander, like a Mustafa Ali. Where has Mustafa Ali been? Has he been injured? I don't think so. He's just up and disappeared. Him and Chad Gable were actually a pretty good looking tag team for a minute. Unless he's injured, why the fuck is he not out there? If you would push guys like Otis and Tucker to get a championship opportunity, which yes, they have one tonight, are they going to win it? Most likely not. Otis, on Friday, just everyone was going ballistic every time he came into the match. People like Tucker, but they like Otis better. I hope this doesn't mean that Tucker's going to get jealous and they're going to break the tag team up, because Vince McMahon loves breaking up tag teams. But WWE needs to start investing more into the stars they have now. Monday Night Raw has a plethora of stars, from a Cedric Alexander, a Buddy Murphy, a Angel Garza now, Andrade, Humberto Carrillo, Aleister Black, Ricochet. That's 7 guys right there, who could be the face, the rotating face of Monday Night Raw. Andrade is fucking money. Angel Garza be fucking money. Humberto Carrillo could be like a figure in the mid-card division for them. Same thing with Cedric. Same thing with others. Ricochet could be heavyweight champion if they want to give him a chance. Drew McIntyre is so over with the crowd right now just because he's being himself. He's being Drew Galloway by using the name Drew McIntyre. And it's just resonating with the fans. I wonder why. But in the end, Goldberg, Shitberg, and Brock Lesnar. These two matches, I have a feeling on this. WWE and Vince McMahon loves to swerve. Not as bad as Vince Russo, who swerved every fucking episode of Nitro that he could, and more than once on Nitro. But Vince McMahon loves to get one over on the fans. 2018, I guarantee you, every single person on the face of the earth who watched WrestleMania thought, there was no shadow of a doubt that Vince McMahon was going to swerve us, and Vince McMahon wasn't going to swerve us, and Vince McMahon was going to crown his golden child, Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion. What happened? It took 6 F5s and a bloody forehead, but Brock Lesnar retained. Here's what I think is going to happen. One of three things is going to happen. There's going to be 4 things. 1, both Shitberg and Brock Lesnar retain their titles. Vince McMahon has no faith in Drew McIntyre. Vince McMahon doesn't want to put it on Roman Reigns yet. And we build up for a rematch for both of these at SummerSlam. 2, Roman wins the Universal Championship and Drew McIntyre loses because Vince McMahon doesn't want to coronate Drew McIntyre when he wants to only coronate Roman Reigns. 3, Roman does not win the Universal Championship and Drew McIntyre wins the WWE Championship. Or 4, both men win their championships and the part-timers go away. One of those 4 options is going to happen. I'm hoping for number 4, I guess, but I just see Vince McMahon going out there and swerving us because everyone's already going to think that Roman Reigns is going to get his 5th coronation. His 5th coronation, which was supposed to happen last year and didn't happen because of leukemia. So I can honestly see Vince McMahon, if Roman Reigns and Shitberg is in the middle of the show and Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre are the true main event as they should be. If Roman Reigns beats Shitberg, I'm 50-50 on Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. Because look at what happened last year. Look what happened in 2018. Going into SummerSlam, who was the Universal Champion both years in 2017, 18, and 19? Brock Lesnar. Who's to say Brock Lesnar doesn't drop the WWE Championship until SummerSlam? Gotta look out for that one. We have a few weeks left until WrestleMania. We have about a month, right? 4 weeks, right? The 8th. Yeah, we have about 4 weeks. 4 weeks from tonight. 4 weeks. And WWE will tell us a big telling sign by the way they book these 2 feuds. Who's going to walk out WWE and Universal Champion? If both Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre fail to win their championships at WrestleMania, or if only one wins their championship match at WrestleMania, this shows you how stupid Vince McMahon is and how bad WWE is at booking new stars. Roman Reigns, the jury is already out on him. The jury's not even out on him anymore. We know how that's going to be. Roman Reigns is already as made as he's going to be. He doesn't need to win another championship match at WrestleMania. He doesn't even need another championship match at WrestleMania. It's ironic, though, that the match that Roman Reigns had last year at WrestleMania was against Drew McIntyre. And look at him now. Both of them are in championship title matches at WrestleMania. I know I rambled on for a good while here, almost done here for tonight. Just things that are coming off of my head. It's just it's so bad how bad WWE is. AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. Who wants to see that at WrestleMania? You had AJ go into Saudi Arabia, go through the Scotland match they did because Vince McMahon loves himself a gauntlet match. We just had one on Friday, and I don't want to see another one again for a year. Anyway, gets to the end. It looks like it's going to be him winning by forfeit, but they gotta bring out The Undertaker. And The Undertaker wins with one move. If that's Vince McMahon's way of getting us to want to see The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I'll pass. WrestleMania 35 didn't need The Undertaker. WrestleMania 36 sure as hell doesn't need The Undertaker. Just look at the big matches on this card. 5 of these matches have part-timers. There's going to be about 14 matches on WrestleMania. And 5 of the marquee matches are Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar, Shitberg versus Roman Reigns, Undertaker versus AJ Styles, John Cena versus The Fiend. That's 4. I don't know why I got the 5th one at. But that's 4 marquee matches. And 4 of them, and half of them, and that's 8 superstars in those matches, and half of them, 4 of them, are guys who aren't even on the active main roster for more than maybe a month or 2 out of the year. That's terrible. That's like John Cena lied to our faces on Friday last week that WrestleMania matches should be earned and not given. And here he is taking a spot. The Fiend versus Roman should be there. Drew McIntyre versus somebody else who would be WWE champion should be there. Undertaker does not need to be there. If Triple H comes out there and wrestles somebody, which I don't think he's going to, Triple H wrestled last year, he's not wrestling this year. Gee, wonder where that's from. But if you add Triple H versus anybody at WrestleMania, that's 5 right there. WWE needs to, if you cut those matches out, say you had those matches erased and you took The Fiend and Roman, put them together, and let me think here. Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles and put them together, and those were your 2 championship matches, WrestleMania would be a hell of a lot better. Just saying. WWE needs to get off the high horse of the legends and nostalgia. WrestleMania 37, which is going to be in Hollywood, I don't want to see Hogan, I don't want to see Flair, I don't want to see Shitberg, I don't want to see Lesnar, I don't want to see The Undertaker or John Cena or Triple H. It needs to just be those in your company who are on there on a daily basis, week in and week out. Like I said, if AJ Styles would have been WWE champion going into WrestleMania, going up against a Drew McIntyre, that would be a hell of a match and much more star-making, in my opinion, than Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar doesn't make stars. Brock Lesnar hasn't made anybody. Roman Reigns versus Shitberg, that should be The Fiend. And which, of course, it would go the way it does. John Cena doesn't need to be on WrestleMania. And it's funny because they went from John Cena versus Elias to John Cena versus The Fiend. And the reason I'm doing this is so The Fiend can get his win back. That is bullshit and you know it. Just because someone beat you 6 years ago, do you really think John Cena losing to The Fiend at WrestleMania this year is going to make up for the 6 years of downward, 5.5 years of downward spiral for Bray Wyatt's character? Not really. That's another one. Bray Wyatt was this talked about character in 2013 going on to 2014. He looked like him and the Wyatt family. Wyatt family versus The Shield. Elimination Chamber 2014, the last pay-per-view before the network went live, was a hell of a fucking match. That was a feud that should have went all the way to WrestleMania. But it didn't. Bray Wyatt went on to face John Cena. And what happened? He got beat. Yes, he won a match a cage match later on against John Cena because of a creepy boy singing and got the whole world in his hands. Wait, what happened? They had a last man standing match. What happened there? Bray Wyatt got attitude adjustment through a speaker, and John Cena literally took a couple boxes and buried Bray Wyatt with those boxes. And from then until 2018, Bray Wyatt was a eater of L's. All these big matches. Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, in, Undertaker's 25th year in the company at Survivor Series, that year that was. What happened? Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan lost a 3-on-2 handicap match to The Undertaker and Kane. Why? Because WWE refuses to make new stars. This company has to do something quite quick. They're not building anybody. and it's just hurting the company. They have to continue to rely on those from the past. Like the Attitude Era is like the stars from the Attitude Era, the Golden Era, the New Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. They're not getting any younger. They're not getting any younger. They're getting older. They're starting to slow down. Seeing them in matches is just—it's not even exciting. It's sad. And to anybody who goes into the arenas and you chant their names or you say, "You still got it," or "This is awesome," fuck you. You're part of the fucking problem because you enable this. You enable this. You go out there and Vince McMahon comes out and you're singing "No Chance in Hell." You're bowing in the crowd. You are part of the fucking problem. Because you let Vince McMahon go out there, you sing his praises, you sing his theme song, and he's like, "Oh, well, they're doing all this, I must be doing a good job." And then those same people who are sitting there and singing "No Chance in Hell" and bowing go on RSPW or on these other fucking message boards and it's like, "Oh my god, Vince McMahon needs to be removed." Then here's an idea. When a legend comes out, or Vince McMahon comes out and starts talking, you don't make a sound. When his music plays, you're quiet. If you sit on your hands and you keep your mouth shut, when these people come out, you know what happens? They don't get a reaction. And if they don't get a reaction, that's not good for them. Whether you're booing, cheering, crying, moaning, or whatever in a crowd, you're giving them what they want. Booing doesn't help because it's a reaction. People know if they go out there and they stink up the joint and they don't get a single fucking reaction that something is wrong. If they're getting booed and they're supposed to, they want to get cheered, they're like, "Well, it's not the reaction I want, but hey, I'm getting a reaction." If you want change in WWE, when you go to the Elimination Chamber tonight, do this. Don't say a word. Don't cheer. Don't clap. Don't make any sound. Make sure they wrestle matches to crickets. Aleister Black versus AJ Styles. If you think that match is doing terrible, you just keep quiet and let them. You can make it so quiet that you could hear crickets. If the let me see here. If you don't like what's going on in the Raw Tag Team Title match, quiet down. When Seth Rollins come out, don't scream, burn it down. Just be quiet and just let the crickets go. When the NWO showed up on SmackDown this past Friday, you should have been quiet. You keep your voices down. Yes, not buying tickets hurts them as well. But if you really want to show an impact, if you go to these shows, zip it. Don't let your voices be heard. Because if you're not giving them a reaction, it's going to affect them more than you booing somebody you hate or you cheering somebody you love. Anybody who is a Roman Reigns detractor, you don't like Roman Reigns, don't be chanting "you suck" or anything like that. Don't boo him, don't cheer him. If you want to get change, you just zip your lip and you stay quiet. The zero reactions. If someone comes out to crickets and they get no reaction, then that means they're not over. And if you want WWE to not go with Roman Reigns, you don't give him reaction. I know almost nobody wants to listen to this podcast and stuff, but if you want change, if you want WWE to stop relying so heavily on the nostalgia, when nostalgia acts come out, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, on 3/16 day, when that glass shatters, zip it. Don't say anything, don't cheer, don't anything. Because then that will give WWE the signal that, hey, we like this, that people don't want to see this anymore. Cheering somebody, no people are going to go and cheer Stone Cold Steve Austin because it's Stone Cold fucking Steve Austin. He'll get a nice little ratings bump, but what about that? Stone Cold Steve Austin could be out there from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock to 11 p.m. and just bullshit, hit stunners left and right, and I guarantee you they would hit a 4.0. I guarantee you they would hit a 4.0. He's going to go out there and he's just going to talk for the entire fucking night and hit a stunner to anybody who tries to come out there, and it would probably be the most entertaining episode of Monday Night Raw in WWE's history. But if you don't want WWE to rely on these things, you've got to zip it. You got to just sit there put your hands under your ass and sit there on your hands. Maybe like, if you don't want to do that, just pull your phone out and just look on your phone. Look bored. Don't make any noise. And eventually, it's going to get to WWE that this isn't working. Fans don't want to see this. It's time to think of something else. We have to have the power to make them change. But if you continue to go out there, cheer on those who come from before, chant, you still got it, one more match, stupid shit like that, that gives Vince McMahon the signal that, hey, we're doing the right thing by going out there and bringing back the old timers because nobody on the main roster will ever be as over as they are. It's the sad truth, and nobody wants to talk about that. It's time to fight back. It's time to get this shit going. I think that is all for this episode of Unscripted, episode 110. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. And I'll see you guys tonight for Elimination Chamber 2020. Monday Night Raw, then XFL, and AEW, and then Friday Night SmackDown. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.